Pros and cons of Charleston, South Carolina in 2025. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan McHugh, and since 2019, I've been helping people just like you relocate to Charleston and the surrounding areas. My team and I have helped over 300 families find their perfect home right here in the Low Country. More importantly, we've provided them with honest, straightforward advice, no fluff, no sugarcoating, no bullshit. Just the truth. You're not going to find any of this information from any of those other YouTubers out there. This information is coming to you from the heart, and it's coming from a lot of my experiences that I've had personally relocating here, but more importantly, a lot of the pitfalls that my clients make, they're learning experiences. So there's something that I can help you not make those same pitfalls. Today, we're diving into the pros and cons of living in Charleston, South Carolina, and guess what? There's a lot of them. Whether you're just considering a move to the historic city or you're just curious about what life is like here, I've got you covered. Don't worry, don't go anywhere. Grab your popcorn, make sure your phone is charged, and let's go. I'm gonna break down everything from housing costs to cultural quirks, because there's a lot of them. And stick around until the end, because I'll share two personal pet peeves about living in Charleston that might just surprise you and, to be honest, kind of pisses me off. So we're gonna start with the cons, because as much as we love Charleston, no place is perfect. Absolutely not. Here are some challenges you actually might face if you decide to make Charleston your home. And let's be honest, they're not always great. Number one, traffic and commute times. Ugh. So as most people know, let's talk about the 9,000-pound elephant in the room, right? Traffic. Charleston's roads, especially during rush hour, can test your patience. It's no secret that with the rapid growth that we're seeing here in Charleston and surrounding areas, the infrastructure just hasn't kept up. And depending on where you live, this actually may be something that takes you 30, 45 minutes to get downtown. There are people who even live in Mount Pleasant that it can take them upwards of 30 minutes to go from their front door to downtown Charleston. And then let's talk about the people who have to work downtown, and let's say you live in West Ashley. Well, guess what? Bottlenecking and just the notorious traffic is going to be an ongoing problem for you. And honestly, it's been adding 5-10 minutes to most people's commute time. You may think, well, Ryan, what's 5 or 10 minutes? That's not bad. Yeah, add that, multiply that 7 days a week, it gets to be ridiculous. And so for a lot of people, the traffic has just been an absolute nightmare. It's the one thing people are like, listen, if I could change one thing about Charleston, what would it be? It's gonna be the traffic. And then let's talk about it. More popular areas like Mount Pleasant, James Island, Johns Island, and West Ashley, they're just turning into these parking lots, essentially. There's a lot of people who are commuting or driving through these areas, and it just adds that much additional traffic to the already issues that we had prior to the economic growth here. Now, if you work downtown or commute to North Charleston, plan for delays. This is just, it's typical every single day. It's not just like certain days, it's every single day. Roads like I-26 and the Ravenel Bridge are particularly challenging. There isn't a day that I don't see some sort of epic stupidity on the Ravenel Bridge where I'm like, you know what? These people should not have their license. In fact, let's have an area on the side of the Ravenel Bridge where we push their asses right into the water. I'm kidding. Because they're not contributing to society. They're actually making it worse. The silver lining though, people, public transportation. So there are options in and around downtown Charleston, and they're improving. You have the car to bus system, but let's be honest, neighborhoods like Daniel Island or Point Hope, those aren't going to have the same public transportation systems. And let's just say, hey, if you live in these Daniel Island or Point Hope communities, you're actually going to have a shorter commute than most people, but these areas are going to come at an absolute premium in price. So it's something to consider and just keep in mind of, hey, I love Daniel Island. I think it's beautiful. I'd love to live there. But you know what? Price kind of keeps me out a little bit. And if I know anything, a lot of the people that are moving to Daniel Island or living in Daniel Island tend to work in downtown Charleston or some of the surrounding areas. All right, the next big con is the cost of living. Charleston's charm comes at a price, let me tell you. Housing here is more expensive than surrounding areas like Somerville or Goose Creek. While you can find options under $400,000, they're rare and often require compromises in size or location that just aren't gonna fit a lot of people. Utilities, groceries, and dining out are also pricier here compared to the national average. So if you're relocating from a larger metropolitan area like New York, California, the costs actually might feel familiar. So those of you moving from smaller towns or smaller cities, the sticker shock, well, it's gonna be a real thing. Funny story about sticker shock, real quick. I had a client reach out to me and was recently looking at some property, and he was like, Ryan, oh my God, we love this house. It's right near the water. It's on Johns Island, and he's giving me all the information. He's telling me, I'm like, wow, this sounds great. And he's like, yeah, and it's only $600,000. And I was like, really? Okay. So I said, send me the listing. So he sends me the listing, and it says right in the title, proposed construction. And he says to me, well, Ryan, I know it's proposed, but like, how much more than that base price could this home really be? So I don't know. Depends on the builder and what the builder can put into it, what you pick out. So him and I reached out, and come to find out, the home that he wanted to build was going to be another $350,000, bringing the grand total up to $950,000. In options, guys, we're talking a lot premium, options, cabinets, counters, $350,000. So when you consider the costs of things, you have to consider things are just gonna be a little bit higher when you're buying closer to Charleston. That's just the reality. The closer you are to the city, the more expensive the housing is gonna be. So like he said, he was like, I couldn't believe that, here's a $600,000 price tag, but when I'm all done adding everything, putting counters, cabinets, flooring, all that good stuff in, it's $950,000. And I said, yeah, that's how they do it. This is how they get people in the door, is you see that low price, and then when you go in there, it's like, hey, surprise, where's the baby oil? And Diddy's coming out from the back. So get ready. Number 3 on my cons list, flooding and weather risks. So there's really nothing you can do about the weather. Charleston's beauty comes with an absolute downside, and that downside is Mother Nature, and she's a bitch sometimes. And if you got a vacation planned, even better. That's what she loves the most, is ruining people's vacations. So kudos to Mother Nature. Anyways, flooding is an absolute significant concern here. People always call me and are like, Ryan, we don't want to be in a flood zone. Are we going to be in a flood zone? But particularly most of downtown Charleston is where you see a lot of the really bad flooding. Some parts of West Ashley and even Mount Pleasant. The city is absolutely no stranger to sinkholes and king tides. So heavy rains and hurricanes and things like that can make this happen. So if you're someone that's a concern for you, downtown Charleston might not just be the best fit for you. Areas like West Ashley might do a little bit better. Mount Pleasant, Johns Island, James Island. But again, keep in mind, being that close to the coast, you're always going to have concerns of some sort of flooding. And that's where flood insurance comes in. And flood insurance isn't always optional in many areas, and even newer developments might be in a flood zone. Consider things like neighborhoods that have flood zone X or homes that are in flood zone X. That's going to prevent you from having to carry flood insurance. But if you want to, right, if you want to carry flood insurance, it's much cheaper than if you're forced to carry it by FEMA. So combine that with hurricane season, you're going to need to be prepared both mentally and financially for potential weather-related challenges. And let's be honest, it does happen here. Now, one of the other things that people are always like caught off guard, yeah, we can get our freak snowstorms here, people. All right, con number 4, overcrowding. Yes, Charleston has become just absolutely such a hot destination for people moving here, and the population is just booming, which is evident. But tourists flood the city every year, year round, and they come from everywhere. Everywhere. I'm talking, you know, you got people coming here from England, you got people coming here from Spain, you got people coming here from all over the country. I mean, it is just a tourist boom here in Charleston, especially in the historic district and beaches like Folly and Isle of the Palms. I mean, that's really why I tell people all the time, I'm like, hey, if you move here and you don't want to be in the tourist, you know, hustle and bustle, the county park sections of the beaches tend to be a lot better for that. You're not kind of crammed in with all the tourists. You're kind of more with the locals and the people who live there. While the tourism, you know, absolutely fuels the local economy for a lot of people, it can just make everyday life freaking chaotic for people who live here. And it's the reality. I mean, there was last year, a really funny story. This is a good one. You guys will love this. The Ravenel Bridge that we have. So there is a pedestrian running path. And before you get to that pedestrian running path, there's like a little walkway, and that walkway comes in off the sidewalk. And so it's next to the road, runs parallel with the road. So last year, some folks were in from out of town doing their tourism thing. They rented a car, they got their GPS going. Their GPS tells them they got to go over the Ravenel Bridge. Husband or wife, one of the two, gets scared, gets very nervous, sees the big bridge, just, oh my God, I can't do it, and tries to turn off. Well, ends up turning onto the pedestrian walkway, okay, and starts driving over the bike path over the bridge, okay? Not going on the bridge where you're supposed to, actually on the bike path over the bridge. And these people were freaking out, but more freaking out were all the pedestrians, all the people who run, walk, and jog that bike path every single day. They see this car coming at them. People are thinking there's a terrorist. I mean, it literally had the entire city in an uproar. The Mount Pleasant police were like, what is wrong with you? You know, nobody knew what the hell was in these people's minds other than they were just confused tourists, and they got lost and they didn't know where the hell they were going. So yes, stuff like that can feel very chaotic from time to time when it does happen, and it does happen. So something to be aware, just something to be aware of. I tell everybody, every day is like an exciting adventure here in Charleston, South Carolina. You never know what the gonna happen. You wake up one day, you got a storm coming. The next day, somebody's driving over the Ravenel Bridge in the bike lane. You never know. So something to just think of. Locals often find themselves waiting longer for tables at restaurants or even dealing with the crowded streets because some areas like King Street can feel absolutely overrun on the weekends. So if you value peace and quiet, you're gonna need to be strategic about where you live because Charleston just has so many historic spots and so much going on that there's so many people that are like, oh, look at over there, or let me take a selfie on Rainbow Row. You know, all that stuff's going on, but there's still people walking down the street and people are like, oblivious, you know? So those tourist things, that can just drive people nuts. I actually talked to a gentleman who owns a home on that Rainbow Row, and he says to me, he's like, Ryan, my wife and I, we thought this would be great because we're in this historic park. He's like, you know, a big storm, all these people constantly, my car's been damaged. He's like, we got to get the heck out of here. So yeah, people do move into those places, buy them, live there for a couple of years, and they're like, this isn't for us. And they pack up and they move. So, because there's just too many tourists, too much stuff going on. It's too busy. Number 5, lack of public transportation. So yeah, while Charleston still has CARTA and it's improving on its public transportation, it's still not ideal. I mean, if you're somebody who lives, let's say in North Charleston, or maybe you live in Somerville or Latson or one of those areas, and let's say for whatever reason you can't drive downtown, there's no bus system, or the bus system is really limited for you to get downtown. There's no subway, there's no train network, there's none of that. So if you're moving from a city where you actually use robust public transportation, your options here are gonna be very limited. You're either gonna have the CARTA bus system, which if it doesn't come to your area, well, you're shit out of luck. Or if you're somebody who's like, hey, I use a train or a subway, well, get used to using Uber or Lyft, because that's really going to be your only other option. So it is a very car-centric area, which for a lot of people are like, but that's why we have so much traffic. So all things considered though, it's something to definitely make sure you understand when you're relocating here. More importantly, when you're looking for housing for your job, if you're gonna be commuting. So moving on, number 6. This is the one that hurts my soul. Like, lack of diversity in new construction. And you guys may be like, Ryan, what do you mean a lack of diversity in new construction? Well, a common complaint from a lot of home buyers is the cookie cutter feel to some of these new developments. In neighborhoods with modern amenities like Cane Bay, Nexton, Carolina Bay there in West Ashley. I mean, you have all these great communities, Carolina Park in Mount Pleasant, Oak Brook in Charleston. You just have all these fantastic communities. But the homes sometimes often lack individuality. And you might be going, well, how does a home have individuality, Ryan? Well, if you're looking for something with a little bit of architectural charm or character, right? You're gonna wanna look at older neighborhoods like South of Broad or even the Old Village. The French Quarter is beautiful too. But the thing is the homes now, these new construction neighborhoods, they just don't have the wow factor that a lot of these older homes do. So when you're downtown Charleston, you're driving through and you're seeing these beautiful row style houses or these big estates that sit on a corner or something like that. Yeah, they're absolutely gorgeous because they have aesthetic appeal. There's this architectural design element that draws you in. Whereas a lot of new homes, like new construction homes in today's market, they just don't have that aesthetic appeal. Things start to feel cookie cutter. I'll give you an example. I was just in a community recently in Ravenel, South Carolina, that is going to be a community that's going to be in the 3s to 4s. But I'm going to be honest with you, aside from the really nice houses, the community just kind of felt stamped. Like it felt like they were taking a stamp and just, and I got to be honest, that leaves very little aesthetic appeal, especially if you're someone like me who looks for aesthetic appeal when you're buying a home. So if you're someone that's just like, hey, I just need a home to get a home, to be in a home, to be in something, then those are great. But if you're somebody that's like, hey, I want a little bit more oomph to my house, I want some beauty, I want some design elements, well, you're gonna have to go up on your budget. So just something to be aware of. Number 7, competitive housing market. So Charleston's no secret and everybody knows about it and everybody loves it. Charleston's housing market is competitive, guys, to say the least. Dozens of people are moving here daily. Bidding wars are common, especially for homes under $500,000. Sellers know they are in demand and some can be unrealistic about their property's value. I've been in some homes where they're listed for $699,000 and I'm like, well, maybe $575, maybe $600. $695 is a bit of a stretch. But here's the thing. I've helped clients navigate this very tricky market, whether it's negotiating a $50,000 discount on a home or finding an off-market gem. My team and I have strategies to get you the absolute best deal. And that plays true. I just recently had clients in Mount Pleasant that were looking at a home about $825,000 that we were able to walk away from with everything done for us, repairs and all, for $700,000, guys. That is proof in the pudding. And I gotta tell you, it's deals like that get me so excited. I want to high five my clients. I'm like, yes, we did it. We fucking knocked this out of the park. We used logic and we used actual information to get the price down to that point so that we could make a deal that made sense not only for the sellers, but my buyers. So now that we've tackled the challenges of living in Charleston, let's dive into why Charleston is just an incredible place to live and why I love it so much and why I've been here going on 10 years. 10 years, guys, it's been a long time. And I freaking love it to this day. It's one of the best places to live. It's the best places for families. And we are gonna talk about all the pros right now. So, number 1, right out of the gate, it's obvious. The unmatched history and culture. Charleston's history dates back to the 1670s, and the city wears it proudly. Walking through downtown feels like you're stepping back in time. Everything from the cobblestone streets to the antebellum mansions and the iconic landmarks like the Battery in Rainbow Row and the market. There's just so much to see and love about downtown Charleston. Personally, my favorite thing about downtown Charleston is all the restaurants and all the different shops and different places you can go on King Street. It's absolutely amazing. The cultural scene here is just as rich with world-class museums, art galleries, and annual events like the Spoleto Festival, the Art, Wine, and Food Festival. If you're a history buff or you're an art enthusiast, Charleston is gonna just capture you and pull you in, and you are gonna absolutely love it. It's probably my favorite pro about living here is just all the food, the wine, the history, all of it, the art. Got it. It's all here. All right, number 2 pro, world-class dining. So Charleston's food scene is absolutely legendary. If you ask anyone, even Hollywood, they're gonna tell you Charleston's got it going on. From low country staples like the shrimp and grits to fine dining places like Husk, Hall's, or Fig, there's something for everyone's palate. Food trucks, yes, even food trucks are a hit here. Rooftop bars and waterfront restaurants add to the variety. There is so many great restaurants. I gotta tell you, my wife and I love Grill 225. There is just a plethora of restaurants downtown and even surrounding Charleston. Like you go into James Island, Mount Pleasant, there's so many great restaurants around there that it's really hard not to find what you're looking for. Pro tip, if you're moving here, prepare to become a foodie because you're just not gonna be able to resist. And I'll tell you what, the food scene is epic. All right, number 3, the outdoor lifestyle. So Charleston is an outdoor lover's paradise. I mean, let's be honest. I love going out on my bike. I love going for a hike with the kids. I just love being outside with beaches like Sullivan's Island and Kiowa, endless waterways for kayaking, paddle boarding, paddle boating, and over 100 different golf courses in the area. There is something to do for everyone. Everyone. I don't care what your personality type is, you're gonna be able to come here and find something you absolutely love. Because I'm a hard nut to please as well. You know, I'm like one of those people where I'm like, all right, well, what's really gonna be fun? Is this gonna be fun or am I gonna be bored? And yeah, I always find something that I absolutely enjoy doing. The fishing here is amazing. Like I said, the waterways, being out on the water, going to the beaches, and then just being able to enjoy it all. And I live 40 minutes away from all of it. It's amazing. And so if you're somebody that's like, well, Ryan, we don't want to live 40 minutes, you don't have to. I live that just for the distance to the ocean and flooding and all that stuff. But you can live closer. You can live 10 minutes from downtown if you really want. The weather here allows for year-round outdoor activities. So events like farmers markets, oyster roasts, beach bonfires, those beach pull-ups, they always have like a sandbar where all the boats come and they just park and everybody just kind of hangs out in waist-high water, and it's a good time. And those are some of my favorite events here. You can create these tight-knit relationships and welcoming vibes with people here that you're not going to be able to find those same relationships or those same strength of relationships anywhere else in the country. People here have a totally different sense of living, but also being nice and being caring about your neighbors and your fellow community. So just another thing to add to the pro side of living in Charleston. Now, number 4 is the strong community feel. So, you know, kind of leaning into that a little bit, despite being in a very growing city like Charleston, Charleston has managed to maintain its sense of community and locals are friendly. You're not gonna find a better group of people, of Southerners, where they're just welcoming and they're deep rooted in this Southern hospitality. Yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. It goes a long way here. So if you're someone that's looking from here and you're hearing me say this and you're going, well, that's bullshit to say yes, sir, no, sir. This isn't the place for you. Don't come. Don't do it to yourself, because if you can't adapt to the Southern hospitality or just the way of life here, it's very laid back, it's easygoing. People don't want to be rushed. People don't want to be told what to do. They certainly don't want to be told how to vote or what to do with their guns. So if that's something that bothers you, well, there's another state called California right over on the other side of the country that you can fly to and get there. So they'll be happy to take you, I'm sure.
Keep it real, homies.
When you move into California, you get a migrant as a welcoming gift. So You're welcome. All right, number 5, proximity to travel destinations. So this is actually one of the things that I think makes Charleston really cool. Charleston's location is ideal for people who like to travel. So Savannah, Myrtle Beach, and Columbia are just 2 hours away. And Charleston has an international airport just nearby, right there in Charleston, in North Charleston. And you're well connected to both domestic and international destinations. Now, here's the other part that I love. You're only a 6-hour drive to Disney. So if you're somebody that's like, hey, we're gonna move to Charleston because it's close to Florida, yeah, you're 6 hours away. If you wanna go to Universal Disney for a week, you can do that. Get in a car and drive there. It's a 6 to 6.5 hour drive. And then here's the other best part. Let's say you and your family wanna take a cruise, and well, Charleston Port is no longer doing cruise ships with Carnival. That's all changing. They're totally revamping the whole port. But for you, what does that mean? Well, you can still make it to Miami or Fort Lauderdale in 8.5 to 9 hours. So if you're somebody that still wants to go on the cruise, Royal Caribbean, Disney, all those great cruise lines, you can make it there in just a car ride overnight or in the early morning. Now, the other thing that I absolutely love is that we're not far from Tennessee. So if you want to get a little bit of a country vibe, you want to go visit the Country Music Hall, you know, all that great stuff. You want to go visit Jelly Roll, Kenny Chesney, all of them. You can go right on up to Tennessee and you are not far away. So that's the best part, I think, about Charleston, is just its proximity to so many great areas, so many different great locations. And then that kind of rolls right into my next pro, which is excellent schools. So if you're someone that's moving with kids and you're like, Ryan, our schools are I get this, I love this. This is a phone call I get all the time. Ryan, we live in the best schools, we live in the best school area in the country. It's the best one in the country, right? Where are you, some of your other clients are? Oh, Omaha? Yeah, no. Nebraska? No. We have the best schools in the world. They're in our state. And so then they're like, well, what kind of schools does Charleston have, Ryan? I'm sure they're not as amazing. And I'm like, see why you gotta do that? Why you gotta assume that they're not as amazing? But yes, Charleston has some fantastic public and private school options. So if you're someone that's really that gripey about the schools here, you can put your kids in private. It's okay. Areas like Mount Pleasant and Daniel Island are absolutely known for their top-rated schools. Mount Pleasant schools look like they're freaking college campuses. That's how crazy they are. They're amazing. Even if education isn't your top priority, having good schools nearby can boost your home's resale value. And I talk to people about that all the time. I'll start saying, hey, I'll talk to empty nesters and be like, hey, is school zone important? They're like, no, why would it be important? I'm like, well, it could be important if you ever decide to sell someday and you want to be in a marketable area. And they're like, oh yeah, that's right, we didn't think about that. I'm like, yeah, food for thought. Number 7, diverse neighborhoods. So my next pro about Charleston that I personally like is all the diversity in neighborhoods. Charleston offers something for everyone. Do you want to be in a beach style life? Do you want to live like you're on the beach? Well, check out Folly Beach in Isle Palms. Those houses are like beach houses on steroids. They are amazing. Maybe you prefer a suburban life. Maybe not so like beachy, more like, hey, we want to be, keeping up with the Joneses style stuff. Well, Mount Pleasant, West Ashley, they have beautiful charm. The houses are nice and stately. Some of those drive-under houses are absolutely beautiful. So yeah, if you want that suburban life, Mount Pleasant, West Ashley, Johns Island, James Island might be perfect for what you're looking for. But if you're someone that's like, hey, Ryan, we're history buffs, we're looking to live in a historic area, we want that historic charm, well, downtown Charleston is your spot. It's that spot. It's gonna be perfect for you. Personally, I love the French Quarter. French Quarter, I feel like I'm in historic France. It's just how it feels. Very cool vibes downtown Charleston. Each area I will say about downtown has its own vibe. So there's a place for every lifestyle and every budget. So don't get discouraged if you're not finding what you're looking for right now. So there you go, folks. A comprehensive look at the pros, the cons, and everything else of living in Charleston, South Carolina. While it's not perfect, the city's charm, culture, lifestyle make it an amazing place to call home. And again, I've called this place home for going on 10 years this year. And I'll tell you what, I love it. I wouldn't live anywhere else. This area just has something. It's something in the water, something in the air. It just makes you feel great, and I love it. But as promised, I told you guys I'd give you 2 of my personal gripes. So gripe number 1 is the traffic is unpredictable. The unpredictability of the traffic here is probably my biggest gripe. One day it's smooth sailing and where you're headed, there's no problems. You get there 30 minutes, right? The next day, you're stuck somewhere for an hour because someone tapped their brakes too hard on the bridge and about 4 people plowed into them because everybody's looking at their fucking cell phone, right? So now you're stuck there, and this could be an hour delay. This could be a 2-hour delay. It doesn't matter. It's just, it's gonna put you back, and it's frustrating. And if you're like me, someone who relies upon your schedule and you've got to be places, you got to go to showings, you got to be there at certain times, this unpredictability in the traffic can be an absolute nightmare and can make you look bad, right? And so that's the thing that I have as my biggest gripe, because my goal is to make sure that I'm always there on time for my clients. And if somebody does something stupid and it hinders my ability to get somewhere on time, well, just pisses me off. So the second gripe that I have that I'm gonna tell you is the lack of people adapting. So I love Charleston, and I gotta tell you, the whole vibe here is that Southern hospitality. People just are nice to each other. People are friendly to dogs. Some of the nicest hotels in downtown Charleston have bowls out for dogs for water and stuff like that. I mean, that's just the way it is here. People are very thoughtful. They're very hospitable. They just like to be nice. And so a lot of times you get folks who are coming here, they're moving here from other states, New York, California, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Florida, Texas. It really doesn't matter. But they're maybe frustrated in their area and they're trying to move here because they're trying to be unfrustrated. But what ends up happening is they relocate here and they carry that frustration here. And they're just as frustrated here. The littlest thing flips them off, somebody doesn't let them in, or they cut somebody off and it just sets them off and they have a horrible day. Well, you have to remember here, it's a different life. You have to start life over. You have to do it like a start over. You got to start a new day. Once you move here, you got to start adapting to the lifestyle, the culture. You got to be, so you got to deal with things just being a little bit slower. Things are not going to be like this here. You got to slow down, take a deep breath, and just enjoy it. Relax, because you're only going to upset yourself if you let other people bother you. And I talk to other of my clients about this stuff all the time. I'm like, hey, listen, if Joe Schmo doesn't do what you want because that's where he parks his car every day, well, that's where he parks his car. You kind of got to deal with it. And so a lot of people are like, well, that's not for me. And I go, well, then you're not going to really get comfortable here. It's going to always feel like you're on edge and you're tense. And so it took me, I'll be honest, it took me 2 years to really get off that, like, I want things done now. Now I'm like, well, I get it. Oh, okay, it's Friday. Yeah, it's Friday at 2 o'clock. Nothing's gonna happen. So I'm gonna have to wait till Monday. That's the reality. And that's the kind of stuff you just have to deal with and kind of adapt to. So you have to adapt to the local culture, the local food scene, get used to being nice to people, because that's really what people here want. They don't want you to be aggressive or mean or gripey. They want you to just have a good time and be friendly. And that's what this area will succeed to do, and people will come together and we will build a better environment and a better state than anywhere else in the country. And I truly believe that. So if you can adapt to the lifestyle, but more importantly, the culture here, you will do great. But it's the people who don't adapt. You guys gotta pack your bags and get the hell out. I'll come over and list your home for you though, don't worry. But all in all, even with those annoyances, I wouldn't trade living in Charleston for anything. If you're considering a move, drop your questions in the comments below or reach out to me directly. My email's buyfromryteam@gmail.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who's curious about Charleston. If you're looking to make a move this year in 2025, I'm your guy, Ryan McHugh, Buy From Rye. Thanks for watching, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next video. But if you wanna see other great videos just like this one, go ahead and click this video right here. I'll see you guys next time.